What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I got some updates for you, some interesting things to talk about, broad NFL related stuff, some updates to, one thing that we discussed yesterday, and then some more specific things to the Dolphins. So let's jump right in it. The very first thing I want to talk about is regarding those false positives that the NFL had. So all 77 false positive COVID-19 tests came back negative. NFL testing partner cites isolated contamination. All right, just off of the fucking headline, there's a bunch of issues still, okay? So, as we go through this, they talk about it and frame it as if, oh man, there was this major catastrophe averted. No, that's not true. The first major issue is that you had an issue to begin with. The testing is proving time and time again still to not be anywhere near reliable enough. But then you're going to go, so now look, and maybe this is true. I'm not saying it's not, but because of how I am, the kind of person I am, I question everything. And it's important until you have firm, concrete data to, prove something, right? So now, again, I don't know that this is not true, but the fact that all 77, that seems a little improbable to me, that you would have 77 tests that were all false negative, and then later that day you test them, and then they all, false positive, excuse me. All 77 are false positive, and then you test them later that day, and then they're all negative. I mean, I'm not a medical expert, I'm not a scientist, but that seems a little odd to me, okay? And then the NFL testing partner, whoever the fuck that is, said it's an isolated contamination. Is it really? Is it really? Because before this round of testing that was done, there have been other false positives as well, just in the NFL. We had heard about it before this. So are you really sure that's an isolated incident? And how are you going to guarantee that it's not going to happen at all later in the season, causing even further confusion and issues, blah, 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 right? Okay, well, we'll see. The NFL went through one of its biggest COVID-19 scares of training camp after there were 77 positive tests that came about on Saturday. Upon further examination for this spike, however, it was revealed that these were false positives, as Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network reports that all of the original tests were rerun on Sunday night, and each of them came back negative for the coronavirus. Those 77 individuals also underwent additional testing, and all of those tests came back negative as well. Like I said, maybe it's all on the level, right? Maybe it's all copacetic and everything's good to go. It just does seem a little odd to me, right? And especially because I don't trust people in power, like not even close. So who knows, man? Like I said, I don't know. It could be totally right though. I'm not saying it's not. I just question everything. That's it. On Monday, and it does seem a little strange, John R. Cohen, MD, the executive chairman of BioReference Laboratories, that's apparently their partner, the testing partner of the NFL, released a statement explaining that these false positives were due to an isolated contamination in the New Jersey lab. Okay, hold on though. I'm going to pause there for a second again. What contaminated, they may even say here in a second, we'll get to that, but what contaminated your testing strips or whatever it is that, you use, swabs, testing strips, whatever it is, what exactly contaminated it that gave you a false positive, right? So, for example, why do I bring that up? Because I'm going to go out on a limb here. Again, not a scientist, not a doctor, but I'm going to go out on a limb to say that, there are probably not very many things out there that would give you a false positive for a very specific disease. I could be wrong. Again, not a doctor, not a scientist. But, for example, when it comes to, like, testing for drugs, right? Like a piss test. I've taken them. I was in the Navy. I was subject to random urination examinations, right? You can get false positives in all kinds of ways. So here's an example, right? when I would go into duty, right, 24-hour duty, I would have to stay on my ship, and I would have to stand watch and clean the boat and all kinds of stupid shit, right? Anyway, whatever. So, when I would go on to duty, every time you go into duty, every watch section that goes into duty, in the beginning, at the start of the day, when they start their day, they do their little meeting and blah, 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 you breathalyze, okay? Now, this is a little bit different than urination tests, but this is another example of the same principle. We would go in, and if you were chewing gum, or let's say you had an energy drink, you could blow hot just because of that. Or with urination tests, you could, you know, it could be I don't know, whatever. You could be on some kind of like medication, cough medicine, maybe you had a cold. Stuff like that can give you a false positive for other things, right? So, I don't know. Diseases are different than, like, let's say drugs, right? Because drugs, for example, if you tested positive for something that had, like, you know, some sort of opioid in it, well, there's a million fucking things that have opioids in them, right? So, it's, my guess is that it's probably different when it comes to diseases and viruses. I'm not sure that there are a lot of things that are going to give you a false positive other than the thing itself. I don't know. Again, not a scientist, not a doctor, but these are the kinds of things that I think about and question and wonder about because, yeah. Anyway, on August 22nd, BioReference Laboratories reported an elevated number of positive COVID-19 PCR test results for NFL players and personnel at multiple clubs. The NFL immediately took necessary actions to ensure the safety of the players and personnel. Our investigation indicated that these were most likely false positive results caused by an isolated contamination during test preparation in the New Jersey laboratory. Okay, I'm not really liking this explanation because, again, what is it that gave you the false positive? How did you contaminate it? And not only that, but an isolated contamination during the preparation in New Jersey. So you guys fucked up your preparation. Aren't you guys supposed to be professionals? Like, don't you do these kinds of things every day? You work in a fucking laboratory. So who's to say you're not gonna, somebody is not gonna fuck this up in the middle of the season, right? It's not reliable, and neither are the people, frankly. But that's kind of neither here nor there. But the tests themselves are not reliable, and this is not exactly a very confidence-inducing explanation here. Reagents, analyzers, and staff were all ruled out as possible causes, and subsequent testing has indicated that the issue has been resolved. Okay, so they're saying then they don't know what caused the false positives? Reagents, analyzers, and staff were all ruled out. What else is there then? What else is there? I get that, okay, the second round, everybody, they all tested negative. The second time you tested him, okay, cool. I'd say that's a relatively strong data point. And the fact that you isolated all those people, I'm guessing, and tested them all again from what this has said, okay, great. But it still doesn't explain the initial problem, okay? And so, the first issue is that the tests are unreliable, and then you come to find out in the so they say that it's an isolated incident, okay? But then they say that it happened in preparation, but then they say they don't know exactly how. At least that's what I'm getting, because this is rather vague. But then they say reagents, analyzers, and staff were all ruled out. What else is there that could have caused a false positive? All individuals impacted have been confirmed negative and informed. Great. Several NFL clubs altered their training camp schedules due to this scare, including the Cleveland Browns, who closed the facility for a brief period of time on Sunday, underwent a thorough deep cleaning and disinfection before opening it back up later that afternoon. The Bears and Patriots were some of the other clubs that dealt with false positive COVID-19 tests over the weekend. The Patriots weren't even on the list that I gave you guys yesterday. I could be wrong about that. I don't think so. I say I could be wrong because my short-term memory is not often, always there. I smoke a lot of weed. Anyway, whatever. Point is that I'm pretty sure the Patriots were not even on that list. If they were, then this point will be irrelevant. But if they weren't, then, again, there are other, instances of false positives. But regardless of that, there certainly were, over the first few weeks of camp and so on and so forth. Anyway, off the heels of this incident, Ian Rappaport of NFL Network reports that the league is working with the lab on ways to retest personnel immediately so there is no lag time, as was the case this morning. Having speedy turnaround times on these retests will be pivotal for the league in the event that something similar occurs during the regular season. Having the ability to get instant results could help prevent games from being postponed or delayed. Yeah, anyway, whatever, dude. It's a giant fucking mess. They're all fucking morons, and this season is just going to be a total fucking shit show no matter what. No matter how you slice it, even if somehow they miraculously manage to make it through a 16-game season with playoffs and the Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. Even if they manage to make it through all of that shit without major outbreaks and, people dying and shit like that, well, it's still going to be a shit show because so much has been fucked up, right? With the off season, teams are not going to be anywhere near as prepared. There's going to be more injuries than normal. There already have been a ton of, injuries from what I've seen around the league. Not so much from the Dolphins, although Vince Beagle tore his ACL already. And there have been players that have had to, leave the field, including a couple today, which we'll talk about. But anyway, it's and then of course it's gonna affect teams throughout the season at some point. There will be guys that end up having to go on the list, etc. I'm guessing because there is no bubble, there's no complete isolation, and even if there was, the likelihood that it still gets in is pretty high. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing though, because the Dolphins have made a decision on their stadium capacity that I want to discuss. So let's go ahead and get to that. Okay, so here we go. NFL considering policy enabling fans' sound to be heard in stadiums. The NFL is reportedly considering a policy. Oh no, wait. This is not what I wanted to give you guys. I'm so sorry. My stream here got a little thrown off. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry. Dolphins and Miami Hurricanes games at Hard Rock Stadium to allow some fans. The Miami Dolphins and Miami Hurricanes, who share a home stadium, will allow limited seating for fans or to fans for home games this season. Per an announcement from the Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium will allow a maximum of 13,000 fans, and masks will be required for the team's home opener game against the Buffalo Bills. So, real quick, again, obviously you make that a requirement, masks, that is, but it's impossible to enforce. It's literally impossible. There is no way to do it. You cannot police 13,000 people. Concession stands, bathrooms, how are you going to do that, right? Not everybody is a good judge of 6 feet and how far to stand. Additionally, if you, have to blow your nose, if you want to eat something or take a drink, you have to lift your fucking mask up. Okay, anyway, whatever. Tom Garfinkel, Dolphins vice chairman and CEO, said in the announcement the team received approval from city and state officials to move forward with a reduced seating capacity. When we started the process back in March of exploring what a socially distant stadium could look like, we made the health and safety of everyone our first priority. Wrong. That's flat out inaccurate. Because if they actually... Look, dude. The bottom line is if they really actually gave a shit that much, and if that really was their first priority, if that was their number one priority, it wouldn't happen at all. They would not have a season at all. But it's not their number one priority. My guess is it's probably not even in the top 5. But I'm not really going to speculate on that. Unquestionably, the number one priority is profits. Profits. So even if it happens to be their number 2 priority, it's a flat out lie because it's not their number 1 priority. Profits are their number 1 priority, and making sure that they can salvage as much of that as they possibly can for the 2020 season is the priority. And if health and safety happens to be number 2, I guarantee that there is a pretty substantial difference between that number 1 and that number 2. Anyway, We're happy, let's see, that our elected officials recognize the attention to detail and diligence that we put into creating a safe... Oh, by the way, this is in Florida with Ron DeSantis, who's a complete jackass and a moron, and the state of Florida is still one of the worst states in the fucking country. So we're happy that our elected... And this is another example of how this is complete bullshit. Right? Because our elected officials, they're so great and they love what we're doing. And oh my God, they said that we can have fans in our stadiums. Ha ha ha, yeah, we are gonna have fans so we don't lose as much money as we were gonna. But they're all fucking morons. Anyway, and put in creating a safe environment, and that they made the decision to move forward with 13,000 capacity stadium at this time, even as other sports leagues in the United States have returned with that. Look, and how do you think that they... Like basketball, for example. First of all, again, way different sport, way different, factors that go into it and so on and so forth. But part of that is that they were actually able to, other than initially when it did get into their bubble, have successfully maintained a bubble. Okay? And they can do that with the kind of sport that they play. And the differences between that and football. The primary one is football's a full contact sport. But also part of the way that they have done it is by not having any fans at all. Because then an entire team, like let's take basketball for example, especially considering most of those, I'm not really sure that there's any basketball courts, professional basketball courts that are outdoors. I don't know that, but I don't think so. All of those are indoors, so they absolutely would have to have, anyway, whatever. It's just a whole fucking shit show. Have returned without fans. Daniel Kaplan of The Athletic reported in June the NFL was going to let individual teams make their own determination based on recommendations from local and health and government officials. The Dolphins are one of 7 teams currently planning to allow fans. Others include the Baltimore Ravens, Dallas Cowboys, Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jags, Kansas City Chiefs, and Pittsburgh Steelers. The Hurricanes are scheduled to open the 2020 season at home September 10th against UAB. The Dolphins will begin the season on the road at Gillette Stadium across... And that's another thing, though, too. The fact that college team or a college team plays in our stadium also then drastically increases the fucking chances, etc. All right. So let's see. There were... Curtis Weaver yesterday, I believe, was taken off the field. I haven't seen any updates on him yet. Just wanted to let you guys know about that because he apparently had some sort of small injury. Also, there were a few guys. Let's see. The Dolphins re-signed Trent Harris. I want to say he's a linebacker or maybe an edge. Either one. He's either a linebacker or an edge rusher. One of those. I can't remember which. Yeah, anyway, but the Dolphins did have a few guys actually today that came off the field. I'm looking for them right now, kind of trying to just bide some time. Okay, Kyle Van Noy, one of their big free agent signings that they way overpaid for. Noah Igbenogene, a guy that they reached for in the first round and I would have taken the top safety instead of him. Anyway, and Patrick Laird, probably one of your best running backs. Well, maybe after we did get Breda and Jordan Howard, so he's probably number 3 on the list. But still, one of your best running backs. Among Dolphins players who did not finish practice today for the Miami Dolphins, recap to come. So we'll have to wait and see what happened to them. Kyle Van Noy apparently got an upper body injury while pass rushing. Oh, great! The dude got an upper body injury while doing his primary job. Okay. I guess. Whatever. And then, real quick, I wanted to, with the stadium capacity, going back to that for a second, because Sean McDermott, coach of the Bills, said something, right? He made a comment that it's honestly ridiculous to have fans in the stadium. Now, to be fair, and to be completely, honest and transparent here, he was saying that it's unfair that the Dolphins are going to have 20% stadium capacity because of the sound noise. Really? Does anybody even think, I mean, I know that there are people out there that think this, and I guarantee there are Dolphins fans that think this, but does anybody really think that 20% of the stadium being, you know, full is going to help this shit-ass fucking Dolphins team do anything? No. My guess is the Bills are going to fucking mop the floor with us when they come to town in that home opener. Because this team, it's unimaginable to think that this team, especially out of the gate, maybe they can somehow string together some fucking, you know, mid to late season fucking 5 wins or whatever like last year. But that is their ceiling, okay? And they're definitely not going to do a goddamn thing out the fucking gate, if at all. So, you know, that shit ain't going to help. The real problem, though, is that you're taking absolute unnecessary risk with people's lives. Real quick, because, again, this dude's an idiot, and I like to point it out. And, again, he thinks that he somehow fucking has any kind of, like, emotional or mental control over me. It's ridiculous. He just says dumb shit, and I like to point out people's stupidity. So here's what he had to say, this Matt Infante guy. I would venture to bet Brian Flores, if put in the same position as McDermott, would not tell the media it's honestly ridiculous that some teams will have fans in the stands. But then again, not everyone is cut out to be a leader. First of all, Brian Flores on numerous occasions has proven to be an absolute grotesque leader. Let's see. Let's name a couple reasons. 1, his treatment of Kenny Stills, trash. 2, he told Laramie Tunsil that he wasn't going to trade him and lied to him and did it. I don't give a fuck what Laramie Tunsil had to say about, oh, well, I would have done it too for 2 first-round picks. First of all, obviously, there's a lot more that went into the trade. Kenny Stills was part of that trade. But it doesn't fucking matter. His opinion there is frankly irrelevant when it comes to this particular thing. He told the dude he wasn't going to do it and then did it. That's called lying. Lying. Okay, now maybe you could say, well, he probably just shouldn't have said that he wasn't going to do it because it's football and shit like that happens. Maybe. But it doesn't change the fact that he lied to him. Let's see. How about this? He sold out to the tanking philosophy. He was instrumental in completely dismantling it. He himself said that he had a hand in every single transaction that's happened with the Dolphins. And there's ample evidence to prove that on-field decisions were made to put the Dolphins in a position to lose last year. Why? Because they were in a tanking philosophy so they could go get their prize in Tua Tagovailoa. So this dude has absolutely no fucking idea what it means to be a leader. And to characterize it that way is absolutely absurd. But we all know that this Matt Infante dude is a complete fucking moron, doesn't have absolutely any idea what the fuck he's talking about, and is also on top of that a despicable person because he thinks it's okay to maximize profits and, put out entertainment at the risk of people's lives. Okay, whatever. Anyway, and so look, if Brian Flores has that opinion, it's just another data point to prove that he's not only a bad leader, but a piece of shit on top of it. So, anyway, whatever. It's a fucking, like I said, total fucking clown show. And whatever, dude. Like I said, bro, I'm fed up with people. I'm fed up with their stupidity. I'm fed up with our fucking leadership in this country and in the world. And look, bro. Alright, anyway, I'm going to stop before I go off on a bunch of other shit and get super political. Because look, bro, the world's burning. And football is not important. It's not. It's not. And the fact that they're going to put on this fucking giant shit show, clown show, it's not going to be quality at all. It's more than likely going to fucking end up getting shut down at some point, etc., etc. It's just non-stop fucking trash and garbage. And there are way more important fucking things than this bullshit. There are still, everyday black men getting fucking gunned down in the fucking street by police, right? Like, anyway. I said I was going to not go off on these massive tangents about other bigger things, but there are bigger fucking things than football, and the fact that they are continuing to push this is just more and more examples of how grotesque our world is. Anyway, I'm going to get up out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspectives. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, concerns down in the comment section. Of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I'm out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.